All right. Thank you all for joining Microsoft and Revanti today for this exclusive session focused on driving AI transformation. We truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to engage with Revanti and Microsoft. Revanti is a Microsoft partner that has a team packed with expertise in all things Microsoft. The team at Revanti is ready to help organizations deliver a more collaborative, more productive, and more secure experience. A few housekeeping items. This is a live event that is being recorded. We will be sharing the recording with each of you. If you have any questions on any of the content presented today, feel free to enter them in the Q&A chat, and our team will take action to help answer them. Our speakers for today, Tracy Urbina, Rennie Abraham, Brett Bennett, and David Brown. These individuals come loaded with a deep wealth of knowledge around Microsoft's tools and its impact on end users. And I know, in fact, I guarantee you will walk away with more insights on Microsoft 365 Copilot by the time this is over. All right, enough for me. David, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Shane. And no pressure there. Hey, everybody. Thanks for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. We'll dive right into it. We're happy to be joined by Microsoft, the folks that Shane mentioned. So here's sort of the agenda for this morning's conversation, or afternoon, depending on your time zone. Tracy and Brett will take us through a Copilot 365 solution overview, talking about some of the features, some of the details, some of the new announcements and agents that are available. Myself, I'm with Revanti, a partner who's modern work and security designated. I'll talk a little bit about what a Copilot implementation looks like in the real world when you're ready to introduce that into your organization, along with the timelines and resources we would need from our respective teams. And then Rennie will help me talk about what that deployment cost looks like and some available programs from Microsoft that might offset those costs. And then we'll all kind of work together to talk about next steps and answer any questions you have. So Tracy, I'll turn it over to you and put myself on mute.
Great, thank you, David. Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Urbina. I'm a Microsoft Modern Work Technical Specialist for Modern Work and Copilot. I'm here to talk to you, like David said, a little bit about the solution overview and our stance on AI and Copilot. So we can go to the first slide there, please. So at Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. I really like this mission. It's something we're all very passionate about, and with our ability to achieve this mission has been completely supercharged by AI across the board. So we can go to the next slide. I want to focus on the human impact of what's going on in the workforce. So 80% of employees and leaders say that they don't have enough time or energy to do their jobs, while 53% of leaders say that productivity needs to rise to meet the demands of the business. But 82% of leaders expect the use of digital labor to expand their workforce in the next 12 to 18 months. So go ahead to the next slide, please. So with that, we have, in just a few months, we introduced our vision and strategy for Copilot and agents. It really all starts with people and ingenuity. So we envision every employee having a Copilot, a trusted AI assistant, understanding the way you work and your work context, and providing that consistent user experience to interact with AI. Agents can augment Copilot by adding skills and knowledge to automate tasks and business processes. So just like everyone today has a smartphone with many apps, everyone will have a Copilot with many agents. And Copilot will truly be the UI for AI, so that single standardized platform that organizations across the globe are really turning to as they transform their businesses using Copilot in this AI era. Next slide, please. So like I said, we've had a ton of success with Microsoft 365 Copilot. Millions of users around the world are using it as the fastest growing cloud service that Microsoft has ever released. And it's a product that unlocks so much potential with personal productivity as well as organizational productivity. But recently we announced something that actually extends the value of Microsoft 365 Copilot to the entire enterprise. So we announced Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat is made for that individual because it's secure, web grounded, and freely available assistant to you that you can deploy across your entire organization. It's out of the box and it understands everything in the web, but it's secure and controlled in your environment. And it can also be managed, and it is managed by your professional IT organization. It's completely extensible through Copilot Studio. It understands the web, and then whatever you tell it to understand. So based on simple pointers and low code out of the box workflows, you can have this freely distributable agent as an assistant in Copilot Chat that your frontline workers can have, and they can have the benefits of understanding everything on the web, plus any data source that you point it to. So with Copilot Studio, it can be used to ground both your M365 Copilot for your professional users, as well as your frontline workers, so that you can bring in the frontline together with the boardroom, really, over the common reasoning framework for all of your AI empowerment. And then I want to just go into the next slide. The reasons that Copilot kind of is set apart from other AI experiences, and why Microsoft is the right partner to choose when you're looking at AI transformation across the organization. The new updated Copilot app, if you have not experienced it, please go check it out. But across the board, it really enables a whole new way of work. It's that AI-powered productivity. It's personalized and designed to adapt to you. It learns what's important to you and the way that you work. The app integrates all of your AI for work in one simple, tailored app that brings it all together. It's integrated into the millions of tools that we use every day: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of the great things like Outlook and Teams. But it can provide that unified AI experience that can work seamlessly across your apps and experiences throughout your workday. With Copilot Search, we're bringing in the power of search and AI together to give you more relevant, context-aware results. It connects your work data and then the dozens of apps so you can quickly find what you need. Copilot is really that window into agents. So that new digital workforce I mentioned, including some of those deep researching analysts, it's really the first of their kind to use the advanced reasoning over agents that can be grounded within your work and help you tackle those complex multi-step research and deliver those complete findings. We know that businesses do not all work within the Microsoft stack, and that we have many different ways to connect to our data. So we offer no code and low code tools that can build custom agents. So and they're not actually that customized. So you don't need to be a developer to create these agents that can create ways to access data and take actions to customize topics and knowledge. And those are all available within your Copilot, so you can meet the needs of the specialized functions and tasks in the organization. So in addition to the productivity signals in Microsoft 365, you can also connect to all of these extra or outside business data sources, such as maybe an ERP system or a CRM, and maybe any custom applications you're currently using. And that can allow Copilot to reason over all of your employee data and all of your enterprise data, so you can really customize and choose how to utilize this for a organizational transformation using AI. There are thousands, like I think it's at 1,800 now, pre-built connectors all ready to get you started. And as Brett will go into, but it inherits 365 security and permissions and policies. There's a lot of built-in advanced enterprise data protection. And then finally, there is a full tool set for IT professionals to better understand and manage AI within the organization. So this includes the governance and security, like I mentioned, and compliance protection, but it also helps ensure the right people have access to the right tools and everything is being used as intended, there's also adoption and measurement controls, tons of reporting and tools to help you accelerate adoption and really measure the impact of AI and the business value. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brett to talk about some of those fantastic security controls within Copilot.
Thanks, Tracy. And Patricia and I, we're teammates together on, we both support modern work in Copilot, and great to join the team at Revanti today as well. So yeah, so security obviously is a big part of Copilot data access and your tenant. It's an important part of that, understanding your data is your data. So when we're using Copilot, when you're using Copilot to access your tenant data, again, it's your data, you're managing, you're controlling that access to that data. The data in your tenant, in your Microsoft Graph is accessible by Copilot, but you control who accesses data sources and data controls in your environment. So again, you define those policies, maybe define those things a long time ago, but Copilot follows the same policies as part of your ongoing security posture. So nothing in Copilot will elevate a user beyond what their current permissions are in the data set. So it follows your existing permissions and models and policies as far as data access goes in your graph and in your tenant as well. Again, you define what data is accessible via Copilot. Your data is always secure in Copilot. And that fourth bullet is, I think, the important one here, so that your data is not each trained on other models. So we never take your data and train the Copilot, the LLM, the large language model. So we never take your data and use that data to train other models, or that model we utilize for Copilot purposes. So that's an important point here. Other AIs can't always make that claim, but we're consistently, we don't use your data to train the model ever. So it's your data, it lives in your tenant, for you to access it via Copilot in this case. We don't use it to train other models, and it's only used for your purposes. And that last bullet there, so your data is always protected, as well as your interaction with Copilot is also protected. So there's enterprise data protection. If you go in your Copilot chat, there's that green shield at the top of the screen. You can click on that link. It'll tell you basically what you're protected against. So you're protected against numerous protections around data protection and data compliance. So again, your communications in Copilot, it's your data. You're protected against copyright risks, AI security, things like that are again all spelled out in the enterprise data protection. Again, click that green shield in the interface, and you'll see that. Next slide, please. So how do you govern your Copilot or the data in your agent, in your tenant or in your Microsoft Graph? So when you purchase Copilot licenses, which I'm sure some of you folks already have, you get access, this changed a few months ago, you get access to SharePoint Advanced Management. So what that means is there's an advanced tool set in SharePoint for managing, because again, SharePoint is a big data source for Copilot driven data. So SharePoint data could be, again, libraries of documents, things like that. So having that data secure is obviously a big part of preventing oversharing, for example, in your environment there. So again, you own Copilot seats, then you own access to SharePoint Advanced Management across the entire tenant. So your entire tenant's covered. And I'll put a link here in the chat as far as what that tool, I don't have time to go into details on this call. As far as what that advanced management tool set is and does, let me put it in chat. Hang on 1 second, folks. If it comes through, if not, I'll put it in the follow-up items here. Anyway, so again, because you own Copilot, you own that tool set, okay? So things like, so if your environment has E3, E5, so E5, for example, includes things like data labeling and things like advanced protection via Purview. So again, everything you do in Copilot is e-discoverable, it is audited, can be tracked, monitored, and can be surfaced through tools like Purview, for example. So if you're using E3 or E5, E5 has more options around viewing and looking at those accesses and maybe violations, to be honest. So those may occur as well. So you use tools like compliance tools like Purview to look at governing AI usage, making sure users aren't accessing data they should be accessing, make sure they're not submitting content and prompts and responses they're getting back that are not, or things that our company is concerned about. Okay, next slide. I'm already almost out of time. Keep next slide, please. Yeah. So innovation. So we innovate Copilot literally, it seems like daily now. I mean, we're changing this product and enhancing, evolving, expanding, it's everything. It seems like now daily. For example, we understand, the Copilot, the models we utilize in Copilot, maybe they are behind's not the right word, but we're not the same version as what you might see in ChatGPT, for example, or even Consumer Pro, because our product is enterprise focused. So we can't take an agent or a model from ChatGPT, OpenAI, and plug it into enterprise products like what we're utilizing in this case, and without testing it heavily. So that's why we go through these models, make sure we're not impacting our enterprise customers, privacy, security, all those typical things there. So we are, again, slow isn't the right word. We test heavily. We're an enterprise company. We're a public company as well. We can't have any models come out that we deploy and they break something or impact security or protection, those type of things. That's why, or one reason why we're a little bit, again, slow isn't the right word, but we test heavily on these things. Personalization. So there's things coming around. Again, no time to talk about this now, but there's things coming around. So you can Copilot. I'll put it actually links in chat. Hang on one second, folks. There's two new. They're not live in your tenants yet. There's two new items, two new features coming. One is Copilot Memory, where Copilot understands how you or learns how you communicate with your peers, colleagues, customers, whatever. Where you can turn it off, but it can enable it to basically watch how you respond to emails, Teams, chats, whatever, and it learns how you communicate. And as you create new messages in the future, it'll take that knowledge from what it learned from you by watching you in its memory and apply that to future conversations. Again, it's not live in your tenants yet. It's coming soon. Copilot tuning, that's a bigger topic. That's more about where you're able to tune basically language models to meet certain work criteria. Again, those are all big topics. We don't talk about that for this call, but links in terms of what those things are. Again, there was on your tenants yet. They're coming, but there's links in terms of what those products are. So memory and tuning are both. Again, we're evolving and allowing personalizing of Copilot to scenarios. Digital employees. So that's like Tracy mentioned, agents. So agents are a huge part of AI at this time. Using like autonomous agents that can talk to other agents and automate certain functionality, agents that can read computer screens and take clicks or prompts and things like that from a computer screen. So computer usage of agents are all things that are available now or are coming down the road. So again, all ways we can automate and make our lives simpler and hopefully more effective. We can do other things by having agents available to do those platforms, do this type of maybe simple task perhaps. Okay, what's our next slide? Okay, so let me jump to. I'm already at time. Sorry, folks. Give me. Are we good, David? Give me like 2 minutes.
100%. No, I think the demo that you wanted to do with some of these really cool agents is well worth the time, and we can figure it out down the discussion.
Let me just show real quick. So one recent change in Copilot was the interface changed. So everything moved. If it's not in your tenant now, it will be soon. This is my demo tenant here. Everything was on the right side of the screen. Your profile was on the top right. Now everything's moved to the left, and your profile is now at the bottom left. So I mentioned before the green box, your enterprise data protection EDP, that's now moved from it was over here. Now it's here. That's your protection of what you're protected against. So again, search, as Tracy mentioned, so you can do Copilot search to, maybe be looking for, what documents. One of my colleagues at Katoso is Kai, what work on, things like that. Just real quick hits on looking for certain things. So Kai worked on an employee handbook. Kai worked on PowerPoint. Okay, great. So that's search. We know what chat is. We've used chat. Work again, accessing your tenant data. Web accessing, essentially being search is what that's utilizing that for. We know what that is. Agents, as Tracy mentioned as well, agents are a massive part of the product. So agents you can build. Like I built agents, Katoso Legal. I built these 3 agents here. Agents that are available from Microsoft, like researcher, analyst, are both new agents that came out. Well, they were in Frontier program for a month or 2-ish. They became GA about 10 days ago. Researcher is a research analyst. Let's say it's like hiring a research analyst in your company. You feed it a topic, can be very complex, can be very simple. You feed it a topic and it goes out and creates literally sometimes a 10, 20-page document on that topic. Very thorough, very elaborate, very detailed. That's what researcher does. Analyst is essentially like a data scientist. You feed it maybe documents, maybe some Excel files, and maybe not totally related, but you have to go analyze those documents. Hey, is there any relationships here that I need to be aware of these documents? Maybe they're maybe financial documents, maybe accounting, maybe what they happen to be. But analyst is your data scientist tool using Python to answer complex questions around on data sets. Again, those are also, I'll put a link here in the chat in terms of what those agents are. An important note on those agents, those two agents, the researcher and analyst both, there's a quota. So during Frontier program, they were essentially all you can eat, or basically open. They were throttled. But now that they're GA though, you're currently limited, this as of today at least, you're limited 25 new queries per month per license used for Copilot. What that means is, so like Tracy can create in the month of June 25 queries using either of those two agents. Either, maybe it's half researcher, half analyst, maybe it's all analysts, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. There's 25 total queries across the month for those two agents, okay? And it's based on a calendar month. There's no buying more quota. There's no way to expand. That may change tomorrow, but today there's no way to increase that above 25 quota per user, per license user per month until you can. So if you burn them all up now, you gotta wait till July 1st for your new 25 users. And I'm already past time. Real quickly, new item as well, notebooks. It's kind of a neat novelty, I think, but so basically a Copilot notebook allows you to upload documents. Right now it's limited to 20 files. Unless that changed recently, it was to allow you to upload documents, like maybe these are Excel documents for Katoso Copy. You can upload PDFs, Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel documents. And basically it lets you create a notebook on maybe a certain workflow you're working on, maybe a certain project you're working on. In this case, it's financial documents for Katoso Copy. So you can, as part of it, you can go through and identify in my notebook here, I want to instruct it, Copilot, to use a certain, it's financial discussions around Katoso Copy. Information should be detailed, accurate, and totally formal. So you basically define how it should respond to questions against that data set. I think you can ask it questions, just things. So this is financials through FY24, I think. Let me just say, okay, let me ask it a hard question. So predict revenue for FY26. Something else is analysts can do this as well. It's going to go out and do a quick hit in terms of what it, based on its forecast, based on the data I fed it from my notebook here. That's one thing Notebook can do. It's creating now a document for me. I can take this, but it also, again, this is more like it's kind of a fun thing it can do. It also creates a podcast type file or audio file. So you say, based on this data set here, which is again financials for Katoso Copy, create I didn't turn on audio for this shoot. But what it would do if you do play audio, again, you can't hear this.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's overview.
But it basically auto creates a two-person or two-voice dialogue around the data.
We could actually hear it.
Oh, okay. Hang on. So
where we dive into this fascinating look at a company that's been reimagining the coffee experience. Katoso Coffee, a real innovator in blending tradition with technology.
And basically creates a
Hi there.
podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. Today we're exploring how Katoso Coffee, founded in 2012 in Seattle, has grown into a major player with 800 employees.
That's all part of Copilot Notebook. This is, again, new. So again, you can create, again, based on maybe your workflow or project, whatever things you can think of, but it's 20 files, at least currently 20 files per notebook. And I'm way past time. And I'll pass off to David. Sorry, David. Too short.
No, don't be sorry at all. This was really cool. And it's funny because I use Researcher. I used it recently heading to a client site for a presentation. So I did an industry analysis through Researcher. And like you said, it was hardy. It was about 20 plus pages. And I didn't know about the notebook and the audio. And my fantasy really was, let me do some work and some prompting in Researcher, give my team a podcast basically to listen on the way into the client site to provide that in industry context for our
There's
discussion.
your use case. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. Yeah, you can see we could go in further detail for any of these discussions here, and happy to do so. I'll start to speak a little bit about what we've been seeing in the field. So Revanti Tech Consulting is, again, a Microsoft Security and Modern Work designated partner. Basically, we're a deployment partner. So, we work with the Microsoft products, but it's not academic, it's field-based, and we're doing deployments and configurations and integrations with clients in a variety of industries. So lots of real-world sort of experience and lessons learned there. I'll kind of run through this a little bit quick, but maybe it resonates with some folks here. But we do see a lot of folks who are evaluating different AI tools and LLMs for their organization. And of course, top of mind for many folks is ChatGPT. So these are some common conversations we have and considerations we usually make clients aware of when considering Copilot or ChatGPT. So, Brett had mentioned, and Tracy touched on it as well, just the data protection, privacy, and compliance. So I'll actually start with the privacy, because that's an exceptional one for me that I don't think is really duplicated elsewhere. Brett mentioned that Microsoft has committed to not using your organization's data to train its models and LLMs, that's not extending beyond your tenant boundary, as it were. So that's very important. We'll talk very briefly about data security as it is available in Microsoft Purview. But if you look at Purview as this end-to-end data security solution over the entirety of your Microsoft 365 stack, Copilot honors all of those data security settings. So I say a frontline worker, I don't have access to sensitive information in HR or personally identifiable information. Copilot will not surface that data for me because it honors those permissions that I'm given, nor will it include that sort of information in its responses. So you configure it once in one place, these policies and permissions, and it's honored across the entire stack: SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and of course, Copilot. Not necessarily the case with ChatGPT in terms of that ease of securing data. I mean, another thing too that's kind of interesting here, and Brett, we've talked about it on other engagements, but there's this notion of communication compliance in Microsoft Purview, where you can, for example, monitor keywords, whether that's to have an ethical wall for like legal industries or where you're having a merger and acquisition, or that's just to control inappropriate speech, harassing speech, etc. Purview will honor Copilot will honor those as well, and either alert or take action on, i.e. restrict prompts that are including speech that has been identified to be out of compliance in some fashion or another. So that's just one example of the controls and compliance controls available to Copilot. Adoption and skilling, I'll gloss over it. I mean, my little bad dad joke here is, the good news is Microsoft has a lot of documentation and resources to help folks get productive with Microsoft 365 Copilot. The bad news is Microsoft has a lot of resources and content to help folks get familiar with Copilot. So there's more resources than with any other LLM to help folks get productive. I look at generative AI, it's kind of interesting. For me, what's impressive to me is you look at other technologies with extreme product market fit like AI is getting, right? Like, so mobile devices is an example of that. You couldn't keep mobile out of the workplace. Users forced it on organizations. What's different, however, the product market fit with Gen AI and mobile is at least comparable. It's more more product market fit, more demand for Gen AI in terms of the explosion we're seeing in subscriptions, et cetera. What's different from the cell phone versus Gen AI is this is purpose built. I know what to use this for right out of the gate. And I have an Outlook client on here. I know what I'm supposed to do with an email client, or I know what I'm supposed to do with the various apps on my smartphone. Gen AI is a little bit different in that we're still discovering the use cases. And I always say that to be effective with Copilot or any Gen AI tool, you kind of have to have the same skills you would need to be effective at delegating an assistant. And that means knowing when to delegate, when not to delegate, what information to provide, what context to provide, etc. So all that is to say that the training is a very important component of this. And there's a lot of use cases that Microsoft provides in their adoption kits about specific line of business use cases for, say, legal, how to compare contracts, or say healthcare, how to quickly determine eligibility for something or not. So the adoption and skilling is a big component because it's so much of a change to the end user's workaday life. Productivity and graph, these are sort of related and super important. So Copilot both honors all of the security and compliance policies you've configured in your Microsoft 365 tenant. And it also seamlessly is unified with all of the collaboration workloads that you'd be using in Microsoft 365. So SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. So there's no further integration work that would need to be done to bring AI to those productivity tools. Not necessarily the case with ChatGPT or other LLMs that may require some extension or connector or otherwise work that would need to be done. And of course, that could be undone given updates on any one side of that equation or to your environment. And lastly, the graph, Brett kind of showed us the graph when he asked, hey, what's Kai been working on lately? This is the productivity information, what your coworkers and colleagues are doing in a timely fashion. And again, according to permissions level, that pulls in another thousands and thousands of data points that are specific to your organization to help triangulate a response that's maximally relevant and significant. So the way I look at the graph is, yes, it's very cool. It can anticipate, I like to send out a meeting on Fridays saying, please summarize what the week will look like next week for my team and what our priorities are and point them to anything relevant. The graph does that importantly. But the other thing that the graph does, as opposed to other LLMs that are out there, is it increases the accuracy of the response because now it has more data points that are very organizationally specific. So that's sort of the conversations we see and have with our clients out in the field. Now, looking at the actual implementation of Copilot itself, essentially it's taken in the way that most technology implementations are rolled out and adopted within an organization, starting with a pilot in production, and then based upon that experience and that evaluation, moving into full production, and then ultimately moving into what we're calling operate, or some sort of steady state, where you're performing just regular hygiene, reporting, updates, etc. So Revanti as a deployment partner, both on the data security side and the Copilot side, we've put together an offering that covers the main components of a Copilot pilot. And I won't spend much time on this slide, but basically we're doing discovery of the data. We're designing the privacy, compliance, and security labels and policies that we want to see in place for that pilot of Copilot, such that the responses that you're getting from Copilot and the prompts and data we're feeding into Copilot is appropriate for my role and permissions. Then we're implementing those data security policies along with deploying Copilot to your pilot group. And then we're providing some technical training and knowledge transfer and a lot of adoption and change management. So meeting with department heads in particular who are participating in the pilot, asking them what their specific use cases are. So what's something you spend 3 hours or more on and you think it should take less time? What are those cases? Where can we see some efficiencies driven or better accuracy, better quality driven in, say, redundant tasks or what have you? And then we provide a success review based on a few things, and I'll get more into that in a moment. I'll gloss over this side, but it is worth noting that any successful Copilot implementation, whether we're talking a pilot or whether we're now extending out to the org department by department, is going to involve 3 major pillars: the technical readiness, which is, the data security and compliance; leadership, so some executive sponsorship that can articulate the why and the expected benefit and expected differentiation that the organization might receive from moving forward with Copilot. And then, of course, the actual folks that are involved and incorporating Gen AI into their daily work lives. So as you can imagine, there's 2 concurrent tracks, the technical readiness track, which is data security, and the adoption and change management. We'll send you this deck here, but this details some of the specifics around that. I will just point out here. So on the technical readiness track, again, I'm going to gloss over this, but these are the specific discrete activities that we would be carrying out as a part of this Microsoft 365 Copilot pilot. That's the technical readiness track. And then, of course, we do the change management. Now, there's a few important things to note here on this piece. So the Copilot Value Discovery Workshop, this is where we're actually meeting with department heads and getting organizationally specific department head information about specific use cases. And so this is an actual anonymized adoption plan where we've detailed the use cases here. And you could see we're articulating the use case, articulating the scope. What's the value? Is it time saved? Is it quality improved? Is it risk averted, etc.? Which department it's coming from. And then we have something like which app it would be in, or is this something we would look to extend by agents or through Design Studio or what have you. So that's one piece there. Let me minimize this. And then the last piece is the Copilot success review. So I'll just send you this for a moment here. Bear with me. So here's at the tail end, after we've gotten those use cases at the front end, determined what the value would be, and even assigned some economics to it in terms of what are your hourly, what is the hourly cost to, say, a worker in this department. We can then, in a very detailed way, and I think Brett and Tracy mentioned it through the dashboards that are available, start to quantify the activities and the ROI that's taken place in that Copilot pilot. So this is anonymized, but this is actually a month-long pilot. And in that month, we're seeing how many documents, emails, etc., and able to assign a dollar figure to the AI assisted value. And these dashboards are just getting better and better. Brett's been tremendously helpful in providing these dashboards, these advanced analytics to folks that I've been working with. But this is how, at the end of the pilot, we're able to provide this to the organizations to, with data, evaluate whether Copilot makes sense to move forward with organizationally or not. So all of that, in terms of the timeline, this sort of Copilot pilot, as I've described it, is intended to take about 8 weeks. And I've listed the 2 tracks here, with the expected go live for Copilot taking place in and around week 7, and then some steady state activity and reporting. I'll gloss over this, but this will be in the final deliverable we'll send to everyone here today. But we just identify too, like, here's the folks we need from your end. Here's about how much time we should expect by phase for those folks to spend, so you can plan accordingly. And hopefully that's helpful in understanding, like, the additional question of, okay, I think we're ready for a pilot. Now, what's the time commit on my end? Can we afford to do that in a specific time frame, or can we carve out some time to do this important pilot initiative? So services costs. So this sort of offering I mentioned, sort of MSRPs, as it were, for lack of a better term, at about $70,000, and I've broken that out by phase. The AvePoint, by the way, that is a third-party premium tool. These folks are fantastic at data security and discovery. That's something that we typically like to add to these engagements just to get some robust reporting, or as robust data reporting as we can. Rennie, I will invite you to help me about some program discussion and ways to offset the cost, but the MSRP here is that 70,000.
Yeah. So on the Microsoft side, right? We at Microsoft, we understand, hey, Copilot is new, adoption, training, all of these are important aspects of using the technology, right? So the Microsoft ESIF fundings are available for a lot of these programs and trainings and adoption classes. For example, the first one, it's about $30,000 you get as ESIF fundings, right? And when I say we put the request in and get it approved, right? The whole process takes about a week or so. But David here can also walk you through the timelines on, hey, from start to finish, how long does it take? What is the time frame and the cost involved? But the first one, the Copilot, it's about $30K that ESIF fundings can be approved by Microsoft.
And there's other Microsoft
fully funded programs.
Exactly. So typically
yes.
we pull from a few different programs.
Yes, there's vision and value and proof of value, and there's a bunch of different programs that are fully funded by Microsoft. So yes, love to, if anybody is interested, you guys have our email addresses, just shoot us an email and we will, offline have conversations with you, set up a call. We'll go through the whole program and we'll walk through the whole demos and things like that offline. Yep.
Yeah. And then on the Revanti end, we make a corresponding investment alongside with Microsoft for about that dollar figure. And then we also pick up the AvePoint tooling cost for the 2 months at $2 per user per month. Now, I don't want to overspeak here, but I could just tell you what I've seen in the past. In the past, I've seen these engagements be mostly or fully funded. again, there's a lot that would have to go into that, and that's finally and fully understood during and after the submission process. But it's not crazy to think that this would be essentially $0, provided that funding is approved. And this next slide here, we just talk a little bit more about some of those funding programs, which seems like inside baseball. What I'm showing here is essentially giving you a sense about, let's say you wanted to pilot Copilot as soon as possible. What sort of timelines would you be looking at given everything we've discussed? So if you were to have a discovery call with anybody here on this webinar within the next 2 weeks, and we were to discuss, if you had any outstanding questions, technical, adoption and change management, product, or otherwise, and we were able to sort of answer those questions and finalize the scope more or less along the lines we saw, we could get that submission request in as early as June 26th. And that's assuming like you have the call on the 19th. And then, Rennie, I've given us 2 weeks just in case for that request to run its life cycle, in which case it would be available as early as July 10.
Yeah.
And then I've given us actually, a business week to review the SOW for it to go through our respective legal teams. We could compress that for sure. And then just some resourcing and admin here. So basically providing a partner like Revanti with the appropriate access and permissions and understanding that. Maybe there's some vendor onboarding that needs to take place with your IT or security teams, letting that run its course. But then we could expect to be started in early August. And again, with about the 8-week duration, you could see your Copilot pilot go live on September 10th. And, Microsoft would basically be providing some subsidy for that project for about that duration. So some interesting stuff. If you wanted to, again, continue the conversation and check about availability, that's definitely one of the next steps here. So I'm talking too much, but I will just finish up by saying, so what is next? What is next? And my guess is some folks either have outstanding questions about the product or the security or the deployment, in which case all of us here today are available to answer those. If you think that there is a likelihood that you'd want to pilot AI in the next 2 quarters, we should definitely be speaking over the next couple of weeks. And that's just a short discovery call. If it's looking like, yep, all of my questions are answered, let's move forward now and actually get our hands a little bit dirty with a pilot and that evaluation that's dashboarded and data-driven, let's do that. Then myself and my Microsoft colleagues would work to get that funding request together and submit it. And I don't have a slide here for it, but it is really cool. If you're not ready for a pilot migration, but you still want to make some forward progress towards that, there's data security programs that are Microsoft funded that do just that. And let me just quickly go here. Basically, the data security program, it's a 3 to 4 week discovery and results and remediation and recommendation session, so some consulting. But basically, it gets you through this discover piece. So now, when you are ready for a Copilot pilot, you're not starting from nothing. You've got an understanding about your data state, etc. Lastly, what is the next step? If you wanted to continue the conversation, and Brett, Rennie, Tracy, if you guys wanted to throw your booking link in the chat, because I'm not sure how quickly we'll be able to get this out, that'd be great. But just reach out to us. We'd love to continue the conversation. And yeah, we are available and excited about what we've seen so far in the field, and excited about what you might have planned for your own organization.
Yeah, just shoot us an email on your availability, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Take care, folks.
Thank you, guys.